Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel, Angel Says Art. Nice to have you all back. Today we're going to do an artist reacts video. This comes from PBS News Hour. Give them some love. Check them out down below. I had to adjust that. Yeah, this comes from PBS News Hour, and it's called Mexico's Rich Tradition of Public Art Extends Well Beyond Its Borders. So we're going to do a reaction to this short clip. It's about 6 minutes of reporting on Mexico's muralism and artistry, and I'm actually really excited about this, guys. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Gallery walls in New York. It began in Mexico with a trio of muralists in the 1920s. Jeffrey Brown traveled to Mexico City before the pandemic to explore the movement's influence then and now. It's part of our ongoing coverage of arts and culture, Canvas.
Thank you. Yes.
In Mexico City, along bustling streets, well-kept parks, and giant walls of low-income housing, signs of a vibrant public art scene.
The art movement of the world is street art.
Cynthia Arvide is author of Muros Somos, or We Are Walls, a look at this rebirth of Mexican street art. The artists here, she says, are part of a generation largely exposed to public art online, influenced by international graffiti stars like Banksy. Some of their themes are distinctly Mexican.
I just want to say that we are definitely experiencing this here, right, in America. Again, hi, I'm from California. I live in Northern California, so Mexico is our neighbor to the south. So a lot of this is going to look familiar to me, depending on where you live, maybe not so much for you, but this definitely, what he is saying rings true for Mexican Americans who are living here in America, especially here in places like California and places like Arizona. The style, the street style is the same.
Colors, pre-Hispanic symbols and imagery, local plants and animals. Some focus on the country's problems: drugs, violence, poverty, and corruption.
Mexico is definitely a country of contrasts. You have these vibrant colors side by side with this really grim, violent society. And
Well, I could just say, I identify with this as a American, but as a Mexican American living in America during a time like right now, when America is in a stage 25 dumpster fire. It's really grim, right? But there's a vibrancy here and a sense of we have a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging, a sense of unity and community, but we also are also faced with a grim, violent society that's happening all at the same time.
it's happening, it's alive with all of the good, all of the bad, all of the in-betweens. And I think artists, they feed their art from that.
But muralism here also looks to an extraordinary past and one of the world's great art movements. It began a century ago at the end of Mexico's bloody revolution, when a new government looking to unite a fractured nation commissioned the likes of Diego Rivera, Jose Clemente Orozco, and David Alfaro Siqueiros to help create a sense of shared identity. You can still see it in spectacular form at the Ministry of Public Education, where Rivera painted thousands of square feet of frescoes in the mid-1920s, highlighting a world of workers, domestic life, conflict, and continued political volatility.
So I personally would like to speak up on Diego Rivera. There's no doubt in my mind that he was a talented painter, a talented artist. I think he was tortured by many things. And I won't go too deep into his relationship with Frida. I am a huge Frida Kahlo fan. I've done many portraits of her. I'll share a little bit. I do have a portrait in my Etsy store right now if you want to check it out. Just clink, 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 clink. Click on the little QR code in the corner, it'll take you to all my socials. Maybe I don't like who he was as a person, but I will not deny that he was talented, and I will not deny that his art was really revolutionary for the time and talking about what was going on in Mexico during this time of rebirth, right, and reconstruction.
They are sort of part of a debate.
At another mural mecca, San Ildefonso, we met art historian Renato Gonzalez Melo. Once Mexico's national preparatory school, this is home to Rivera's first commissioned work, The Creation, as well as a number of Orozco's key works, including one called The Trench, depicting revolutionary soldiers.
Los murales son pintura de historia.
The murals are historical paintings. Historical paintings are still considered the highest form of art. And when this project began, they were obviously thinking about explaining what the new order was. They represent a part of society that had never been represented officially, that had never appeared in paintings, nor photography, nothing, that had been excluded from the national image.
By the end of the 19th...
That's why I said what I said before. He was a part of this trio of male painters that were commissioned to not only be revolutionary in a time when it was absolutely needed, but to document, right? Because I believe that as artists, no matter what you do, we document the times. We document what is going on in society. And does our art always have to be groundbreaking? No, but it can be meaningful to us to express how we feel about something, and then we put it forth for other people to see, and that is a revolutionary act.
1920s, mural commissions in Mexico were declining, and the big three painters moved north, where they began to influence a generation of U.S. artists. That became the focus of a major exhibition at the Whitney Museum in New York, now reopened after being closed during the pandemic. Vida Americana, Mexican muralists remake American art, has some 200 works, including side-by-side comparisons. Curator Barbara Haskell.
This show proves that the Mexican artists had the most profound influence, far exceeding the French during these 2 decades.
Wow. What a statement. I'm so here for this. You see my face? I'm super excited to hear this, that Mexican artists are getting their due. Mexican art has had a profound influence on American art. And that's funny because I got ahead of myself, right? Because I said that in the beginning. And especially me as a Mexican American, I know this to be true. That duality of growing up in both, right? You're both cultural, but you have nationality, right? Being Mexican is my cultural, my cultural proximity. It's my my wholeness. It's my DNA, right? But being American is my nationality. There's this duality that happens. And so I think the fact that she's honoring, and being a museum curator, and being white and being a white woman really, it does make a difference. People can say, oh, race doesn't matter. No, it matters. It does. It matters when it matters. And when you have a curator of a museum like this, of this caliber, that she is saying it is time for us to honor the influence that Mexican art had on American art. And for her to go forth and say, even more so than French artists, bravo, wow, I want to hear what she has to say.
Absolutely. They allowed American artists to get a new conception of what art was, that art was something social, that it wasn't just about form and color, that it really had to relate to people's lives, it had to tell stories that were accessible and modern.
Diego Rivera famously created a 27-panel mural in the courtyard of the Detroit Institute of Arts, funded by Edsel Ford. Jose Clemente Orozco received his first U.S. commission in 1930 at Pomona College in California. He painted a dramatic image of the Greek titan Prometheus. Nothing like it had been seen in the States, and his work caught the eye of a young Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock sees this.
And he changes his work.
Pollock also attended a workshop in New York led by David Alfaro Siqueiros, who encouraged unconventional techniques.
Doing things like they would put canvas on the floor and throw paint, splatter paint on it, throw things like cigarette and pieces of wood on it. It liberated the idea of how you could make a painting.
I love this. This is so amazing. Because as an artist, the way that I work as an artist, I'm a self-taught artist in that I didn't go to a classical school. I grew up in a family of artists. My mother is a painter. This was something that has been passed down from my ancestors through my DNA, right? And can you go to school to learn techniques to be better? Yes, absolutely. I have taken, I'm sorry, let me adjust my seat. Okay. I have taken classes at university. I took a painting class, and I actually took mural. I took mural classes. And so I was smiling big when I was watching Diego when he got his commission to do the painting at the university, because my first mural that I actually did was at the Berkeley City College in Berkeley, California, where we did an entire piece on the bottom floor. If I can find the pictures of me doing that work, I will add it here. So I understand what it feels like to work large and work on a piece that's really meaningful to you, but then work in a sense of community. Muraling is different than sitting behind a canvas and bringing something to fruition for yourself and to use or to bring forth a subject matter, especially if it's really personal to you, but it's just you. It's different when you're working in a group with other artists who are bringing together their ideas and their talents. But what I really wanted to say was I love this idea of the freedom of the artist, that these Mexican artists had an influence on a young Jackson Pollock, who actually I'm a fan of his work, that they said cut loose and stop with all this rigidity. And that's the kind of artist I am.
An influence of style, but also subject matter, as here in a large painting by the American artist Charles White.
The idea that the muralists had presented indigenous rural population as being the bedrock of Mexican identity, that became...
Changing Mexican history.
Exactly. So
idea.
Charles White, the idea that you would insert African Americans into the sweep of American history was something revolutionary. No one had ever done that.
Amazing. That right there is amazing. And she said something really interesting, putting the people of color at the bedrock of the foundation of American history. Say across the globe, we're going through a lot of things in terms of resources and land. Brown-skinned people are being targeted and traumatized in so many different ways. And it's kind of interesting because in a way, I feel like brown-skinned people are fighting for this very thing that they are talking about in this video, to remain important, to remain seen, to remain one of the biggest parts of American history, which is the foundation that built America. How Mexicans influenced American artists to say, yeah, you know what? We belong. This is so amazing. And this is how artists influence other artists. And this is the way artistry knows no bounds. This is why art can spread across the globe. And it doesn't matter what language you speak or where you come from. We all influence each other.
Back in Mexico City, today's street artists are also influenced by the past greats. Edgar Flores, known as Sanher, first saw an image of Orozco's trench as a boy, printed on a Mexican peso. He didn't know it was from a mural until he saw the real thing.
They took me to San Ildefonso, and there was that mural, impressive, large, with other colors, and it was very dramatic.
Today, Sanher's own work can be found on walls around the world, including his hometown of Mexico City. He wants to explore political and social issues of his day, he told us, in a way that is positive and public.
I love this. And what was funny is right when I saw him and I saw his work, I thought in my head, and I almost said out loud, he's got to be from Mexico City. By the way, this mural is absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving these colors. That's right up my alley. The brighter, the better is how I work.
El espacio público es
Public space is very sacred for me. It's a bit like that muralism I learned from Diego Rivera and others. You can criticize, but you also have to advance. What are you going to change? Not only complaints, instead, share solutions.
Big solutions and very big art. For the PBS News Hour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in Mexico City.
I like this. I like this because we could have very big problems. But what are we doing about them? And I say that lightly because the world is really heavy right now, and I think a lot of us are going, holy crap, I'm just so exhausted. I'm so weighed down with the world, and that's me included. I'm raising my hand. I have to go off and disconnect from the internet, from social media, from the news, just for my mental health. But then when I've recharged, I jump back in because, again, I am a firm believer that as artists, we are documenting this time of what's going on. And honestly, sometimes just giving a voice to the torment, sometimes just giving a voice to the things that you feel inside, and then putting it out there, I guarantee you there are so many others who are feeling the same thing. And we are creating a safe space for these feelings. And so I really like what he said, that you have big problems that need big solutions, but sometimes it's about asking yourself, I'm complaining, I'm crying, and I'm upset, but what am I doing about it? And I think artists, we're making art. That's what we're doing about it. Okay, I want to say bravo to PBS News Hour. Okay, so I want to add, though, that this actually came out 4 years ago. You know, you've heard that age-old quote, history will repeat itself. It's always repeating itself. We've seen a lot of what is going on right now over and over and over again. Thank you for sticking around. I'm going to continue to do this because you know what? I find that this is a love letter and kind of like a diary for what I am experiencing. And I know other people are experiencing the same thing, but I always want to relate it to art. Please continue to make art. Please continue to be creative in a time where there's great darkness. If you are an artist of any kind, we are needed. We are needed to raise the collective creative energy to keep light moving forward. So go out into the world, spread love, light, energy, hold people to a standard, and I will see you next time. Peace.